We begin today with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, who left for Beijing on his private train yesterday.
In a world that moves by jet, one leader still rides a fortress of steel. North Korea's armored train is part myth and part bunker, rolling through darkness with top-notch security behind curtained windows. It travels slowly, but it speaks loudly about fear and spectacle. So buckle up, because we're diving headfirst into the strangest train North Korea ever built. The armored ride of fear. When most world leaders hop into sleek jets, North Korea's Kim Jong-un rumbles into history aboard a giant steel beast. Meet the moving fortress, a 21-car armored train that's part luxury liner, part rolling panic room. Think bulletproof windows, bomb-resistant floors, and enough weaponry packed inside to start a small war. Oh, and yes, there are helicopters on standby in case the ride really goes off the rails. The obsession with security says it all. In a country where fear and control run deep, even the leader doesn't fully trust his own people. Yet the more the fortress grows, the more it screams vulnerability. After all, nothing says target like a lumbering green train crawling across the countryside. In September 2023, the spotlight turned to this monster of steel again. Kim rolled from Pyongyang to Vladivostok for a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The journey stretched 320 miles and took 20 long hours, proving this isn't exactly the bullet train. Along the way, cameras caught the khaki green locomotive lumbering through Ussurisk, before being switched out for another on the legendary Trans-Siberian Railway. Kim proudly posed beside his yellow-striped train at Pyongyang Station before departure. Its name, Tanga, translates to sun, a tribute to his grandfather Kim Il-sung, worshipped like a literal sun god in North Korean mythology. Since inheriting power in 2011, Kim has logged 7 international train trips and even rumbled across the border into South Korea twice. Forget Air Force One. For the Kim dynasty, railroads are the royal red carpet. But here's the kicker. In the 21st century, where speed and mobility rule, Kim is clinging to a tradition that's equal parts fascinating, eccentric, and dangerously outdated. Before we continue, time for something interesting. After Kim Jong-il passed away, North Korea built a train with Kim Jong-un's face on it. This train was built as a symbol for the new leader. However, the original plans were changed, and the train was scrapped. We do not know what led to its cancellation. What are your thoughts on this strange creation? Let us know in the comments below. Legacy on the rails. The armored obsession didn't start with Kim Jong-un. It's a family tradition built on fear, superstition, and a whole lot of steel. His father, Kim Jong-il, famously refused to fly, believing the skies spelled doom. Grandpa Kim Il-sung, the nation's founder, was even bolder with his rail addiction. In 1984, he took a jaw-dropping train journey from Pyongyang all the way to Moscow. That's 12,400 miles round trip, clocking in at 24 days. Imagine the Monopoly board stretched across continents, and you'll get the scale of that odyssey. Those historic rides are now immortalized in Pyongyang. At the Kumsusan Palace of the Sun, where both Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il lie embalmed, their personal trains sit on display like relics of a royal dynasty. They're not just transportation. They're shrines of power, designed to show that the Kim family doesn't just rule North Korea. They glide across it on iron tracks like gods on wheels. Today, Kim Jong-un keeps that tradition alive with a fleet of private trains built in Pyongyang. The moving fortress is the crown jewel, lined with armor plating, bulletproof glass, and floors toughened against explosions. But the real shocker, it doesn't just defend, it attacks. The train can deploy weapons and even helicopters in emergencies, turning a family heirloom into a mobile command center. Security around it is a performance of paranoia. During Kim's visit to Hanoi, guards lined the railway to shield the rails like it was a Hollywood action scene. To the outside world, it looks like a theater. For the regime, it's deadly serious. So the next time this iron beast creeps out of Pyongyang, remember, it's not just a train. It's the physical embodiment of a dynasty that puts fear on wheels and calls it tradition. Rolling to Hanoi. In 2019, while the world watched the high-stakes handshake between Kim Jong-un and then U.S. President Donald Trump in Hanoi, another spectacle was creeping across the rails. Kim's armored train, the Moving Fortress, took the long way around. 65 hours of non-stop steel and paranoia. Forget the Orient Express. This was the Fear Express. Here's the catch. With all its armor, helicopters, and secret compartments, the beast can only chug along at 35 miles per hour. That's slower than some suburban commuters. Add in 90 cars wrapped in thick steel, and you've basically got a turtle trying to play tank commander. But in Kim's eyes, slow and steady beats airborne vulnerability. A plane can fall from the sky in flames. A train can grind to a halt, reverse, or even duck into a tunnel if trouble strikes. It's not fast, but it's survivable. And the route itself? A nightmare of rail politics. Russia's tracks don't match the Korean peninsula's, forcing the fortress to sit idle for long, awkward delays while workers switch wheels to fit the broader gauge. That's hours of dead time in enemy territory. On the flip side, China's tracks conveniently match North Korea's, smoothing Kim's passage through his biggest ally's backyard. So while other world leaders soar at 600 miles per hour sipping champagne, Kim Jong-un stakes his life on a crawling steel caravan that could double as a Cold War museum. The Hanoi trip wasn't just a diplomatic mission. It was a rolling reminder that in North Korea, tradition, paranoia, and survival all travel on the same track. Velvet walls and lobster tails. When you hear armored train, you might imagine steel benches, flickering lights, and grim soldiers. But the inside of Kim Jong-un's ride tells a very different story. Think luxury lounge with pink leather seats stretching across the carriage, private cars loaded with armored Mercedes sedans, and enough red carpet to rival the Oscars. This tradition of rail decadence stretches back to Kim's father. In 2001, Russian official Konstantin Pulikovsky rode with Kim Jong-il and later spilled the tea in his book, Orient Express. The menu? Lobster straight from the tank, roasted pork, fine French wine by the box, and a global buffet of Russian, Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and French cuisine. Oh, and lady conductors who doubled as singers, turning the dining hall into karaoke on wheels. Kim Jong-il's train even had reception halls, plush bedrooms, and conference rooms fitted with satellite phones and flat-screen TVs long before they were common in North Korea. It wasn't just travel, it was a rolling palace. Kim Jong-un keeps the flair alive. He conducts meetings in all-white conference rooms, famously using an Apple MacBook in 2015. Yes, in a country that bans iPhones, the leader himself opts for American tech. His train carries luxury vehicles for instant ground mobility. And of course, the red carpet tradition continues, sometimes with hilarious hiccups. In 2019, the train overshot the carpet laid out for his grand entrance in Russia. Guards scrambled to hold down the walkway as the driver awkwardly reversed the beast. So, behind the steel armor and the political theater, the fortress doubles as a bizarre mashup of bunker and five-star hotel. It's proof that for the Kim dynasty, survival never means sacrificing style or lobster tails. Grounded wings of a dictator. Kim Jong-un may love his steel fortress on rails, but unlike his father, he isn't chained to the tracks. Kim Jong-il was terrified of flying, but his son? He's been spotted in the cockpit, grinning at the controls of a plane in 2014. North Korean state media played it up like Top Gun meets propaganda reel, complete with Kim as the fearless pilot. Since taking power in 2011, Kim has made 7 international trips. 4 were to China, and the others to Russia, Vietnam, and Singapore. 2 of those journeys were face-to-face showdowns with then U.S. President Donald Trump. He even strolled across the DMZ twice into South Korea, a surreal moment in the world's most heavily guarded border.
I've never expected to meet you at this place.
That's good. That's my
But let's talk about his official ride in the sky. Kim's personal plane is called Cham-1, named after North Korea's national bird. Sounds majestic, right? In reality, it's a Cold War relic. a Russian-built Ilyushin 62, first rolled out in the 1960s. That's like showing up at the Indy 500 with a souped-up station wagon. When it came time for the historic 2018 summit in Singapore, Cham-1 stayed grounded. Kim hitched a ride instead on an Air China 747 courtesy of Beijing. His borrowed jet even disguised itself mid-flight. Taking off as Flight CA-122, a routine Pyongyang to Beijing route, it switched its code to CA-061 once airborne, veering south toward Singapore, a covert move worthy of a spy thriller. Why the switch? Probably because even Kim doesn't trust Cham-1's aging engines to survive a 10-hour haul. For all his bravado, the reality is clear. When it comes to survival, even dictators prefer a safety net with Chinese wings. China's insurance policy. When Kim showed up in Singapore on Beijing's jumbo jet, analysts saw more than convenience. China was sending a message. Lending him a 747 wasn't just charity, it was insurance. Beijing wanted Kim safe, calm, and most importantly, seated across from Donald Trump without worrying that Cham-1 might sputter into the South China Sea. In case you're wondering, Cham-1 is a Russian-made Ilyushin 62, a long-range jet first introduced during the Cold War in the 1960s. At that moment in 2018, it looked like history might bend. Kim and Trump smiling, shaking hands, trading promises. But by 2019, the honeymoon was over. Talks collapsed, nuclear shadows returned, and the Air China gesture became another footnote in failed diplomacy. Back home, Kim still leaned on his trusty train. Yet even that iron fortress rides on tracks laid a century ago by Japanese imperial engineers. Think about that. The most paranoid leader alive, guarded by cutting-edge weapons, traveling on steel rails hammered down in the early 1900s. Time may have passed, regimes may have risen and fallen, but those tracks remain the backbone of North Korean power travel. And here's the irony. While the country struggles with broken infrastructure, food shortages, and a rail network experts say is crumbling, the dictator's train always gets first priority. Ordinary citizens wait for delayed, clattering rides while soldiers clear the way for Kim's armored caravan. His trips turn ancient lines into exclusive runways, reminding everyone who owns the rails. So whether by plane, train, or armored car, Kim Jong-un's journeys are never just about geography. They're about power, symbolism, and the quiet paranoia that keeps him alive. Even when the world sees diplomacy in motion, behind the curtains, it's always a survival game with China playing backup. VIP rails of the modern age. Kim Jong-un might grab headlines with his bulletproof beast, but he's not alone in making trains the new symbol of survival. In today's world of high-tech missiles and closed airspaces, steel rails have quietly staged a comeback as the safest runway on Earth. Take Ukraine, for example. Since the full-scale invasion in 2022, the skies above Kyiv have been a constant battleground. Commercial flights are out of the question, and presidential planes would be glowing targets. So, the Iron Horse has returned as the diplomatic chariot. When US President Joe Biden made his surprise visit to Ukraine in 2023, he didn't soar in on Air Force One. He rolled in on a secure Ukrainian train guarded like a fortress and timed to perfection. President Volodymyr Zelensky himself has become the poster child of rail diplomacy. His trips across Ukraine and beyond often start and end on tracks, symbolizing both resilience and resourcefulness. It's not just him either. European leaders, defense ministers, and global delegates now board these armored carriages when meeting in Ukraine. Each ride is part practical, part political theater. Here's the twist of irony. Ukraine's rails share the same gauge as Russia's. That means trains can glide across the border seamlessly, a legacy of czarist planning still dictating 21st century logistics. But move west into Poland, and suddenly the tracks don't match. Leaders must swap trains or shift equipment, turning a simple border crossing into a nerve-wracking intermission. Still, the trend is clear. As long as war, surveillance, and missiles haunt the skies, trains will keep carrying the world's most powerful figures. From Pyongyang's armored anachronism to Kyiv's wartime lifeline, the tracks remind us of something timeless. In the age of supersonic jets and space tourism, sometimes the safest path forward is still the slow, rattling rhythm of steel on steel. Now, if Kim's armored beast sparks your curiosity, you've got to wonder how his counterparts pull off their own global tours. So buckle up, because it's time to roll into how Vladimir Putin takes his travels. The ghost train of the Kremlin. What if your train was more fortress than railcar? That's the reality of Vladimir Putin's private armored train, nicknamed the Ghost Train. It glides along Russia's rails like a phantom, invisible on timetables, unmarked, and nearly impossible to track. It exists outside of sight, a rolling enigma blending into the railway network like a ghost in the fog. This moving palace is no relic. It's a modern technological marvel, outfitted with 22 swappable carriages that shift roles in seconds. One moment it's a boardroom, the next a medical suite or spa. The entire setup simultaneously safeguards and indulges a steel-clad kingdom on rails. Security starts at the exterior. The train is armored, soundproofed, and immune to both gunfire and eavesdroppers. It has no identifying numbers, ignored publicly as if it doesn't exist. No one knows where it's headed until it arrives. That uncertainty is strategic brilliance. Planes are easily tracked, trains are not. Inside is where the bizarre luxury begins. There's a gym with top-tier hoist fitness equipment, bench presses, mats, and more. So Putin never misses leg day even while on the move. Want a steam session after the workout? There's a Turkish hammam spa with an aroma foam shower fit for a czar. Beauty and wellness get full treatment too. Anti-aging machines, massage tables, ultrasound radio lifting devices. This is not your ordinary lounge car. Traveling with poor health isn't an option either. The train hosts a medical suite, complete with lung ventilator, defibrillator, and patient monitors that would make a hospital blush. When it's time to meet or direct the nation, Putin doesn't deboard. A beautifully appointed study area with heavy woods, green drapes, and screens for briefings turns the train into a command center on rails. Spies, investigators, and even train spotters dared to chase glimpses, only to retreat fast. One Russian railway enthusiast shared photos of the silver-gray train hidden from schedules and public logs. Later, he was effectively forced into exile. It's no small operation. Total cost so far is believed to be just under $75 million, with upkeep costing another $15 million plus annually. Exclusive stations and hidden sidings dot the landscape. Places like Novo Ogoryovo, Sochi, and Valdai have their own secret terminals, all fenced and under tight surveillance. Why go to such lengths? Putin's own insiders suggest a mix of paranoia and practical strategy. Trains can't be shot down. They can't be tracked like aircraft. In a country at war, that could be the difference between domination and danger. So there it rolls. A fortress disguised as a locomotive. A palace disguised as transport. The ghost train of the Kremlin is Putin's quiet army on rails, silent, secure, and always one move ahead. The King's Highway to the Kremlin. When you're the Russian president and one of the richest men on the planet, even commuting to work looks like a blockbuster scene. For Vladimir Putin, travel isn't just transportation, it's choreography. Every move has to scream power while quietly whispering survival. Inside Moscow, Putin rarely ventures far these days. The world outside is unpredictable, and the Federal Protective Service, his elite guardians, treat every trip like a military operation. The solution? Forget traffic. They carved him his very own private highway. From his Novo Ogoryovo estate to the Kremlin, $60 million bought a 6-lane road that only one man is allowed to use. No officials, no civilians, not even billionaires get access. It's Putin's personal fast lane into the heart of power. But the road is only the stage. The show is the motorcade. Picture a convoy that makes the Victory Day parade look like rush hour. At least 20 vehicles roll in formation, flanked by armored SUVs packed with special forces. These aren't your average bodyguards. We're talking Dragunov sniper rifles, AK-47s, anti-tank weapons, and portable anti-aircraft missiles. It's like the Expendables, but real. The motorcade isn't just about brute force, though. It's a strategy. One team neutralizes threats while another guarantees the president's escape. At the heart of this rolling fortress sits the presidential limousine, the crown jewel of the operation. So when Putin heads to work, it's not a commute. It's a moving war zone wrapped in steel and silence. Moscow may be a city of gridlock, but for him, the road is always clear, the convoy always ready, and the message always the same. Russia's leader never travels like anyone else. Oris Senat, limousine of legends. Forget your everyday stretch limo. Putin rides in a fortress disguised as a luxury car, and it didn't come from Germany this time. In 2017, during his crusade to swap Western imports for homegrown pride, he ditched his Mercedes-Benz Guard Pullman and unveiled the Oris Senat, Russia's answer to the world's most powerful cars. On paper, the Senat starts at $300,000, but after nearly $200 million in development and endless security upgrades, it became something else entirely. Think of it as James Bond's Aston Martin if it had been designed by a tank factory. Built under the watchful eye of the Federal Protective Service, the Senat laughs at danger. It's armored to withstand sniper fire, roadside bombs, chemical weapons, and even small missile strikes. Beneath its polished exterior lies a vault on wheels. Yet, step inside and you're in a plush cocoon. Leather seats, polished wood, a minibar, and cutting-edge communications turn the car into a roaming Kremlin. Hidden cameras cover every angle, while encrypted systems keep the president connected at all times. And here's the kicker, a secret escape hatch at the rear. If chaos erupts, Putin can vanish faster than a magician mid-trick. It's less a limousine and more a symbol, blending authority with unshakable paranoia. The Oris Senat isn't just a ride. It's Russia's rolling declaration of independence, a steel-clad message to the world that the president doesn't need foreign engineering to travel in style and safety. It's where history, luxury, and survival all meet behind bulletproof glass. Putin's garage of nostalgia and power. Behind the armored Oris Senat lies another side of Vladimir Putin's personality, the car guy who still treasures Soviet nostalgia. His garage isn't just a billionaire's showroom of hypercars, it's a storybook of his life, packed with sentiment and a dash of Cold War pride. Let's start at the beginning. Putin's rumored first car was a Ukrainian-built ZAZ Zaporozhets, a boxy little relic that most Russians considered the people's car. Think of it as the Soviet answer to the Volkswagen Beetle, far from glamorous, but deeply personal. Years later, Putin reportedly spent $10,000 hunting down one in pristine condition, proving that sometimes even world leaders can't resist chasing childhood memories. Next up, the Gaz Volga. Back in Soviet days, this was the ride of the elite, a badge of prestige. Putin's Volga isn't just parked in a museum, though. He once famously slid behind the wheel to take US President George Bush for a drive in 2006. Nothing says diplomatic flex like cruising with an American president in a car once reserved for Soviet high society. But his true favorite? The Lada Niva 4x4. At only $15,000, this rugged off-road machine is a far cry from bulletproof limos. Yet for Putin, the Niva represents freedom. It's the vehicle he chooses on private estates, rumbling over dirt tracks without security cages or luxury finishes. It's not about armor or opulence, it's about nostalgia, independence, and a reminder of simpler times. While the Oris Senat is a fortress on wheels, these cars show a softer side, where sentiment outweighs security. In Putin's garage, memories and image coexist. One armored limo at a time, one humble Niva at the heart of it all. Paranoia, on parade. Security on the move. When Putin leaves Moscow, the spectacle of security grows into an elaborate production worthy of a spy thriller. The Federal Protective Service, backed by his personal SBP guards, turns every trip into a precision operation. Days before arrival, local police lock down neighborhoods, sweep buildings, and gather intel from restaurants and shops. Even potential protests are neutralized long before the motorcade shows up. On the day itself, the stage is set. Snipers occupy rooftops with scopes sweeping every corner. Plainclothes operatives fade into the crowd like extras in a movie. Residents are ordered to keep windows shut, curtains drawn, and yes, even laundry is banned from hanging on balconies. The idea is simple. If nothing moves, nothing can hide. And those cheerful meet and greets with locals, many are carefully scripted. In one infamous example, Putin shared an ice cream cone with Turkish President Erdogan, sold by a smiling vendor. Later, sharp-eyed observers spotted the same woman at a pro-Putin rally, revealing her true role as part of the entourage. It may sound extreme, but Putin's security isn't unique. All world leaders shield themselves from unpredictable crowds. What makes him stand out is the sheer scale, precision, and intensity. Encounters feel less like spontaneous politics and more like Hollywood choreography. For ordinary Russians, the sight of Putin's visits isn't a moment of national pride. It's a lockdown, a city frozen in silence while one man's convoy passes through. For the president, it's the cost of staying untouchable. For the world, it's another glimpse of how survival defines every mile of Putin's journey. Blades of Power, Putin's VIP chopper. When speed matters, Putin trades tracks for rotors. Forget limos and trains. Russia's answer to Marine One comes in the form of a Cold War icon, the Mil-Me-8 Hip. Once a rugged battlefield workhorse, today it doubles as Putin's airborne palace. The Mi-8 first soared in the 1960s, earning its stripes in Soviet campaigns from Afghanistan to Eastern Europe. Despite its age, it's still built today in countless versions. For Putin, that reliability is golden. He favors the Mi-8 MTV, a VIP upgraded model that transforms the humble transport helicopter into a flying lounge. From the outside, you can spot the VIP version by its square windows. Extra fuel tanks keep it airborne longer, antennas cover its communication needs, and infrared countermeasures guard it from missile threats. Some are equipped with the President-S defense system, a laser-based shield designed to blind incoming missiles. In other words, this isn't just transport, it's survival with wings. Step inside and the contrast is surreal. Club chairs and sofa seating replace troop benches. Polished wood trims gleam under cabin lights. There's a restroom for comfort, a salon-style setup for conversations, and advanced communications, so Putin stays plugged into command. Even the rear clamshell doors remain functional, allowing cargo or luggage to slide in without disturbing the presidential bubble. Despite its military roots, the Mi-8 has become Putin's favorite domestic ride, whisking him across Russia with the kind of efficiency his motorcade or train can't always deliver. It's fast, secure, and discreetly luxurious. Compared to his elaborate overseas trips, these flights might feel routine, but for the Kremlin's leader, routine still means a cockpit filled with history and a cabin dripping with power. Cloak and dagger diplomacy. When Putin goes abroad, the trip isn't just about shaking hands and posing for photos. It's a full-scale security operation that plays out like an espionage novel. These days, his overseas travel has slowed, but before the war with Ukraine, he was still a welcomed guest across the globe. And every visit began long before his plane touched down. 2 weeks ahead of schedule, Putin's shadow team of SBP operatives lands quietly to prepare the terrain. They scout escape routes, backup routes, and even escape from the backup routes. Their checklist also includes booking out the finest 5-star hotel in the city. In some cases, hotels have literally bought out existing reservations to clear the path for Putin's entourage. Money talks, especially when it comes with Kremlin urgency. Once secured, the hotel goes into lockdown. Staff are given a generous paid vacation while Putin's personal cooks, butlers, and guards take over the entire building. Why the extreme switch? As a former KGB officer, Putin knows the easiest way to slip past security is through the help. The only exception is his cooks. These hand-picked chefs are among the most trusted people in his world, and that paranoia extends to his meals. Every dish undergoes testing, but not by some poor guard nibbling a sample like in medieval times. Instead, Putin's food testers are scientists, running lab-grade analyses of his meals to rule out poisons or toxins. Only in the rarest situations does a bodyguard taste test a bite. It all costs millions, but for a leader who views every handshake as a potential trap, peace of mind isn't just luxury. It's survival disguised as hospitality. Tsar of the Seas, Putin's floating palaces. If roads, rails, and skies aren't enough, Vladimir Putin also rules the waves. And just like his cars, trains, and planes, His yachts are less about leisure and more about projecting untouchable power. Putin's personal fleet reportedly numbers at least 4, each dripping with luxury and secrecy. The crown jewel is the Graceful, a $100 million masterpiece of maritime engineering. Sleek and commanding, it can host 14 guests across 6 lavish bedrooms, with a helipad perched on top for quick escapes or grand entrances. The interior design remains classified, but given the price tag, it's safe to assume it makes most luxury hotels look like budget motels. Next is the Seagull. Officially owned by the Russian state but often reserved for Putin's use, this 177-foot stunner is valued at $40 million. It comes with all the trimmings: a grand dining hall, a swimming pool, a jacuzzi, a barbecue deck, a beach club, and even a private gym. It's less a yacht and more a floating resort. Then there's the Olympia, a $35 million gift from Roman Abramovich, the billionaire once known for running Chelsea Football Club. This vessel screams opulence, fitted with a plush office and interiors tailored for one of the world's richest men. Abramovich may have parted with it, but Putin made it his own symbol of sea-bound prestige. Finally, there's the Rossiya. On the surface, it seems modest compared to the others, but Putin reportedly poured a staggering $1.5 billion into refurbishments. With that kind of money, you could buy an aircraft carrier. Instead, Putin turned this vessel into a mystery palace. No photos, no details, only rumors of unimaginable luxury behind locked decks. Together, these yachts make up Putin's empire at sea, part status symbol, part secret hideaway. For the Russian president, power isn't just on land or in the air. It sails, anchored in wealth, cloaked in secrecy, and cruising like a modern-day czar who never leaves anything to chance. Steel on steel, the message repeats: survival first, speed second. From palace carpets to tunnel shadows, this train reveals a system built to endure, control. If this journey surprised you, tell us what moment hit hardest. Share, subscribe, and join us for the next dive into the hidden machinery of power.